Hello, everyone, and welcome to Watch Me Viz for Makeover Monday, week 27, 2023. Today is July 3rd, so early Happy Independence Day to my fellow Americans. My name is Andy Kriebel. I am your host for these sessions, and I do these every week to help you learn about Tableau, learn how I explore data sets, learn about data visualization, tips and tricks along the way, and a lot more. If you are If you're interested, I send out a newsletter every week with lots of advice, tips, early access to videos, and discounts to products that I create. And if you go to andykriebel.com, you can sign up for that. Just stick your email in there and you'll be good to go. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with Watch Me Viz for week 27. Okay, so let me change my configure. There we go. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at the original data set and critiquing the visualization, and then I'll start exploring the data and looking at things that that work a bit better. If you are watching this on LinkedIn, I cannot see your comments, so sorry about that. I use a software from OBS, and it doesn't bring LinkedIn comments through. I can see YouTube comments, so anybody on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment and I will see those. But if you're on LinkedIn, sorry, I can't see your comments. So the original visualization that we're looking at here is alcohol consumption by country. And you might ask, well, why did I think of this? Well, I saw in my list of data sets, so last week we looked at drinking the professions that felt most pressured to drink in the UK. And then I had a data set planned for something similar for Asian countries. And I was like, okay, well, I wonder what other data there is. So I did a quick Google search, and then this came up for alcohol consumption by OECD countries. So what I did in here was I just I brought in all of the data. So it goes from 1960 to 2022. And a line chart is a good choice there. It's easy to understand. People know that it's time left to right. And the problem is we don't really know what the title is here. So if somebody were just to show you this graph, they wouldn't really know much about it. I only included this data in the data set, but there's only that one perspective. Go away. But you can then highlight a country. So let's say that I only want to look at, maybe the European Union. I want to look now why Argentina is listed as a European Union. I don't know, but maybe we'll look at Belgium, and it'll highlight Belgium in the data set. Or maybe we want to look at I think where's the UK? Yeah, the UK, and it'll bring that in as well. So overall, we see pretty much a declining trend. If you just kind of just do a quick glance at this chart, you're going to see things are much more spread out in the 1960s, and then they've gotten closer and closer together near the more recent times. And if we focus on the UK specifically, let's see here. So sometimes it can be a bit hard. I do like how these get highlighted, and they also get the dotted and dashed lines. I think it makes it easy to that they contrast well compared to the gray lines. When you hover over a line, you'll see that one gets highlighted as well. You can click on it, and that gets added to the list. So this is kind of like the way that, and maybe I'll show this to you. You can do this called set controls in Tableau. So it's kind of like a set action that says, okay, well, when I click on one, add that to my set. So maybe I can show you how to do that. And Brittany, hi from Florida. Where do you live in Florida, Brittany? I forget. I was actually just talking to Anthony Brown, and he's in Tampa. And if you don't know, I went to college at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg. So the west coast of Florida is fantastic. Anyway, the data itself is the liters per capita for people 15 and over. So I'm not able to receive the weekly newsletter. So if you, Zabiodin, if you're not able to get the newsletters, check your junk, because it should, it may have gotten, when you put your email in for the in the newsletter. Let me just bring it up. I'll just show you. When you put the email in, you should get a confirmation message that pops up. And then you should get an email that follows that up. If you didn't get that, reach out to me either on LinkedIn or Twitter and send me your email address, and I can try to manually add you. But just make sure you type your name in, then click on the subscribe button. It should be fine. A couple other people have reported issues as well, and when I've put their email address in, it worked just fine. So maybe double check that. Conroe, Texas. Where is Conroe, Texas, Caitlin? Or Caitlin, not Caitlin, Caitlin. Gerard, good to see you from down under. Okay, so let's look at this data set. So I'm going to go over to Tableau, and on the left-hand side, I'm going to choose More, and I need to find the data. Makeover Monday, data 2023. I like having my folders nice and neatly organized. Oh, it helps if I put the data in the right place. Downloads. So... Okay, so now I should see it here. Okay, and Tableau does a great job of kind of reading the data for you. The locations are countries, and then we have these indicators. So I don't know, we'll have to try. I'm going to set the geographic role to a country and see what Tableau does with that. I don't remember if Tableau picks up the abbreviations as countries or not, but we'll give it a try. The indicator, if I describe that, you'll see there's only one member. So I'm not really concerned about that column then. So I'm going to hide that column. And same thing with with subject, it's just total. So I'm going to hide that. And then the measure is, I believe there's only one of them here. So it's leaders per capita 15 and over. So for that one, I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And if we look at the frequency, I think it just says A for annual. So we don't need that as well. So I'm just really trying to trim down the data set to only use what I need. And then we've got something called flag code here. I don't even know what that means, and there's no real definition. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that as well. And then we have the time, which is really a year. So I'm going to rename that field to year. And I can leave. So what Tableau is going to do, so you see Tableau read the data as a green number. So by default, Tableau is going to make it a continuous measure, but we want it to be a dimension. We want the view to get split up when we put the year field in the view. If you're not sure what blue and green mean, I did a tutorial video a couple of weeks ago that goes through blue and green, discrete and continuous, dimensions and measures, and explains all of that to you. So have a look on my YouTube channel and you can see you'll get a glimpse at that video. And then here we got leaders per capita. It looks like they've got lots of decimal places for some reason, but we can fix that. Okay, so let's go to our sheet. And I'm going to actually set up the default number format for the leaders per capita. So default properties, number format, and it's to 1 decimal. So I'll leave it like that. And then the year field, you'll see that Tableau put the year field here in our measures. We want that to be a dimension. So you'll see here, we've got the year. So I'm just going to drag that up to the dimensions. And so if I drag year into the columns, you'll see, if you look down on the very bottom left down here, you'll see that, oh, look, it turned green. Interesting. That there are 63 marks. That's because there's 63 years in the data set. If I change this to be continuous, now I get an axis. So I no longer have headers, I get an axis, and now I still have 63 marks, but I only have 1 column. So if I go back, I have 63 columns when the field is discrete. So another kind of example of discrete versus continuous. Morning, Andy from, is that Ada, Michigan? I assume that's what you mean by MI. And thank you for welcoming in Annika. She's doing great. Yeah, she's a wonderful little girl. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to check was the country. So I think, let me just drag this into the view, because I think there's some, I wonder if there's some of the roll-ups like OECD or total or something like that. I don't see any. Sometimes you get some additional fields, like some additional countries where it'll be like a roll up, like, you know, EU average or something like that. So I'm going to rename this as country, and I'm just going to double click on it and see what happens. Oh, okay. So Tableau actually found every country. Well, that's good. Let me bring this back in. I'm just going to double check. So we've got 49 countries in this data set, and they all matched up to a country here. Oh, great. Fantastic. Now, what I could do is maybe I'll just look at the, I don't know if every, okay, here, I'm going to show you something here. So for each country, I'm just going to bring the year in. And you'll see we have holes in some places. So that's where we don't have data for some of the years. So if I go out here, for example, to all the way to the right, you see Argentina, the latest data we have is 2019. Whereas for Canada, the latest data is 2022, and it's 2021 for Austria. So what I want to do is I want to get, if I just bring our leaders onto the text, I want to get the latest value for each country. And I'm going to do that with a level of detail expression. So I'm going to call this the latest, let's see, year per country. And I like to give these names so that if somebody were to pick this up, it'd be easy for them to understand. And sometimes I put the word per in there so that I know what my grouping field is. So I'm going to fix this on the country field, and that's my grouping field. So for each country, I want to get the most, no, I want to get, sorry, that's not right. I want to get the most recent year. So I want to bring back the max year. Oops. So this is going to bring back the latest year for each country. I'm going to click on OK. Again, Tableau put it down as a measure. We want that to be a dimension. So if I drag that to the rows now, you'll see that I get the value for the most recent value for each country. So 2019 for Argentina, Australia is 2017, etc. So that's working. But now I want to get the value for the most recent year. So create a new calculated field. I'm going to call this latest. I'll just call it latest value maybe. And I'm going to say my year is equal to my latest year per country. So that's going to return either a true or a false. So I'm going to wrap that in parentheses or brackets if you're in the UK. And I'm going to make that an integer. So what's happening now is Tableau is going to return either true or false. And when I make it an integer, it's, or actually, why don't I just show you what this is doing? I'll do it step by step here. Oh, was this supposed to start at 3:45? What time is this supposed to start? Oh, I started 15 minutes early. Well, bonus. Okay. No, I said 3:30 though. Anyway, on my calendar, it said 3:45. So right now, this is just going to return a true or a false. So let me hit OK. And I'm just going to, the easiest way to see this will be on color. And let me make these squares. Oh, let's make it, let's see. Okay, let's just leave it like that for now. I'll turn off the labels. Maybe that's a bit distracting. Okay, so here we go. So we see here, Argentina, the most recent year is 2019, et cetera. So this is a neat way, or a good way to see how that Boolean calculation is working. So let me go back into, sorry, wrong field, latest value. Okay, so now that the countries are the same, I'm going to wrap this in an int. And if I click on OK, Tableau converted those. So if you look over here on my color shelf, my colored legend on the right-hand side, you'll see Tableau wrapped that, changed the false to a 0 and the true to a 1. So that's what happens with an integer. But now what I want to do is I want to take that value and I want to multiply it by my liters per capita. I don't need to make that a sum, just like that. Click on OK. And now if let me take that off color. Now I want it to be a measure, so I'm going to drag that down. And if I put that on the label, let me just change this back to text. And what you can see, so I've got both fields in here still. So let me drag measure names onto here. There we go. Oh, that didn't work. So we'll see for Argentina, across the first row, you see we've got kind of 2 rows here for Argentina, or it looks like 2 rows. The first value is the value for that year. And then the second value is the value for the latest year. Now, because all of these other years are not the latest year, I'm multiplying them by 0, and that returns 0. That's what the integer is doing. So it's just a really fast way to turn a Boolean into a calculation, or into a 1 or a 0 to get the latest value. So I use that sometimes with sales, where I want to get the latest sales. I'll say like year equals latest year, wrap that in an integer, multiply by sales, and then I get the sales for the latest year, because everything else will be 0. Okay, so anyway, long-winded explanation there. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know if that's useful or not for me to go through that level of description through these videos, but let me know if it helps or not. Okay, so where were we here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. Actually, I'll just leave that there in case you want to download the video later. I'm going to drag latest value, maybe onto size. Let's see what happens here. And they're all pretty much the same. Okay, that's not very useful. So Turkey is probably one of the lowest. They're a Muslim country, so that's not really surprising. But there's something at 0.1. We just can't see it. So this is where it's difficult to see in a map. If I change this to a regular map, and then maybe I'll remove it from size and put it on color, maybe I can see something a bit different. Still not really all that useful. Here we go. So Indonesia is 0.1. Where some of the other countries are higher up. So Russia is 10.8 versus 0.1. That's quite a difference, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, so Jen, that is why I use it instead of an if then. Also computes faster as well, because if you think about computers are built on binary, so ones and zeros, so it's going to evaluate a one and a Boolean, a 1 or a 0, faster than it's going to read the logic of an if statement. Okay, so this doesn't really work. Anyway, but that's okay. I was just trying to see if it would be useful. So I don't know if I'm going to end up using this calculation or not. Again, the latest value calculation, but I didn't know if I needed to, so I built it. That's part of the iterative process. Okay, so let's go ahead and now bring in the year field. I'm just going to try to reproduce the original. So I'm going to make the year continuous and put our liters per capita on the rows. And then let's put the country onto the detail. And we get something that looks like the original visualization. Okay, that's good. And then what we could do, so let me go back to the original. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to use set controls to do this highlighting. So what we want to do is we want to be able to click on a country and have it get added to that set. So what we would do is I need to create a set based on our country. So create a set. And I'll just choose Argentina for now. And if I put that on color, you'll see we get something like that. So if I change this to show members in set, it's going to filter. So I don't really want to do that. Okay, let me go back. So now what I can do, if I do a worksheet action and I set up I'm going to set up a set action. Actually, what I'll do is I'll show you the difference between the two. So I'm going to call this update country set. And I'm going to do it on select. My target set is my country set. And for now, I'm going to assign the values to the set. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to assign the values to the set. And then when I clear it, I want it to do the remove all. So when I clear it, I want to do this remove all. So click on, so remove all, okay. Okay, so now when I click on a country, so here France, you'll see it changes the color of France, etc. So we get something like that. So that's good. And then when I click off, they all go back to gray. Okay, so Indonesia is a Muslim country as well. Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that. Faki, is that how you say it? Hope I didn't butcher your name there. I probably did, but thank you for adding that context for me. So thank you for that. Okay, so again, that's how just a regular set action would work. Now, what I want to do is if I change that worksheet action to, let me edit this worksheet action. And over here on the left-hand side, what I want to do is I want to change it from assign values to set to be add values to set. And then what I'll do when I clear, I'll leave this as remove all for now. So we'll just look through the different options. So what's going to happen now is I've got China. I'm now adding Japan to the list. And you can see kind of faintly in the background, some of these are blue, right? So this isn't really working great as far as being able to see. But that's what happens when you do add values to sets. So let's see if we can actually figure out a way to de-highlight those. So I'm going to call this, let's see, highlight. And I'm just going to put some text in there. So dummy, I'm going to put that onto the detail shelf. And then up here on my, where's my highlighter? I'm going to choose highlight. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay, so you see now they get added to the set as we go through, right? So that's just a way that you can add them. That's what that add values to the set means. When I click off, they all disappear. So that's a really neat way to do it. What I'm going to do is on my lines, it doesn't let me get rid of the halo. What is, yeah, so details not going to, anyway, okay. So yeah, so it highlights all of those, adds them to my set. So if I show my set now, you'll see some of these are checked, right? And those are the ones, so as I click them, you'll see those boxes get checked because they're getting added to that set. So let's clear that and let's go back into the actions. And let's look at our country set again. And this time what I want to do is when I clear this selection, I want to keep the set values. So click on OK again. And now, again, this still works. I click, they get added to the highlight. But now when I click off, those stay highlighted. Now, the problem with that is to clear them, I don't really have a really good way to do that without some kind of reset button or something like that. So I think for now, maybe what we'll do is, I think what I'll do is I'll just make it as assign and then remove all. No, I'll do keep when nothing is selected. Okay, so now when I click on something, the highlighting changes, click off, that one is still highlighted. So let me change some colors here then. So I have a nice new color palette I created. I like this color blue that I created. And then maybe the other one, this might be too light. It's probably too light. So let me switch to maybe a grayish color. Maybe, oh, I keep picking the wrong one, idiot. Okay, Seattle grays, and I'll just do a light gray. Right, so now we can see those get highlighted, but we still have all the gray ones in the background for context. So what you could also do is we could put the set onto the size shelf as well. And if I go into my size shelf, I'm going to reverse the colors, or sorry, reverse the sizes. I'm going to make the small ones slightly bigger and then make these maybe a bit fatter. So now if I click on apply, you'll see that one gets highlighted now. Maybe I should just switch this down a bit. Okay, so maybe something like that. Big one might not need to be quite so large, but it's just another way to kind of make the blue one stand out a bit more. So I think that's good. And then on the label, let's say we want to label the highlighted. Well, that's not very good, is it? So min-max for the line highlight. Okay, so that's not right. Okay, in out set. Right, so that's not working very. Okay, so let's get rid of the labels. Great. So this is kind of our reproduction of the original. So I'll just call this my repro. And then I could also now clean up the axis. Let's get rid of the year. Maybe liters per capita. So this is in, you'll see I have decimal places in my tooltip, but I want the axis to be a whole number. So I'm going to format the axis and make sure I'm on this axis tab here on the top left. And I'm going to set that to be a custom number to 0 decimals. And the problem now is my tooltip is now at 0 decimals. So I believe if I go into the pane, I think what's going to happen here is, you see, it still stays as a whole number. Unfortunately, the tooltip formatting is tied to the formatting of the axis, which is like super annoying. So if I want to have the axis as a whole number, and then let's see these as a decimal, what I would have to do is duplicate this liters per capita field and put that onto the tooltip. And now we'll see the decimals there. And I would just go ahead and take that one out of the tooltip, something like that. Let's get rid of the highlighter. So we're left with the country. We don't need this highlight field in the tooltip. And there we go. So that's pretty simple tooltip then. So yeah, I'll just leave it like that for now. I might clean it up a bit more. But yes, that's how we would kind of reproduce the original. So I showed you two ways. One is to continue to add them to the set like they do here. And then I think in theirs, you have to click them again to remove them. And I found that quite difficult to kind of get rid of them. So let me go back. I don't know how to get rid of them. Oh, you have to click on them again. But these are a bit tough to click on. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so there's that. Now, if I were going to stick this on the dashboard, I would make sure I hide these cards first because Tableau will bring those automatically into the dashboard, which I don't want. We only have horizontal grid lines, so let me format my view and go to my grid lines. I'm going to get rid of my column grid lines, and then I'm also going to get rid of my axis rulers. And I'm going to get rid of my okay, so axis ruler. Why are my axis rulers still there? Get rid of my 0 lines. Oh, I only changed it for one of them. Okay, there we go. Great. Okay, so then we could even just put we could just title this alcohol consumption in OECD countries. Liters per capita. Liters per capita age 15 and over. Capita aged 15 plus. Okay, so I'd probably do something like that. Maybe make this maybe 11 point or 10 point. Yeah, something like that. So I would just keep playing around with it. Okay, so that's that option. What would be nice though is if we could highlight. Sorry, my eyes are itchy. Is there also a way to add the circles when you engage the set action like in the original? So yes, we could do that. So that's what I was actually just about to get to. So I'm going to create a new calculated field. So what we're going to do is we're going to, okay, let me duplicate the sheet so I don't screw it up. What we're going to do is, if I look back at the original, this is like a dashed line. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to take this blue line and make it a dashed line instead. And then I want to put maybe circles on the ends with labels. So let's see if we can handle all of that. So I'm going to create a new calculated field, and I'm going to call this values in set. So I'm going to say if the country is no, I want to say if country set. So this then I want to return the value, so the liters per capita. Okay, so if I drag this onto the columns, you'll see we get a, oh, I'm sorry, onto the rows. You'll see we get a second line. And on this shelf, I'm gonna force it to be a line. And on the path, I'm gonna make it maybe a dashed line, or yeah, maybe that one's even better. And can I also show tick marks, right? So now this looks almost exactly like the original. But so let's go to the other shelf, make it a line as well. And I'm going to take the set off of the size and off of the color. And now when I make this a dual axis, I'm going to go ahead and synchronize. And then maybe here, I will make this maybe a light gray. When I click on a country, Okay, you see it put it behind, so I need to move this axis. Why did that not work? So it's, oh, because it's doing like this highlighting thing. Let's see. So I have to click off of it in order to get, so what's happening now is Tableau's like highlighting that line really weird. Okay, so that's kind of crappy. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of user experience. So what if I move that to the front? Okay, that didn't do anything. Move to back. Is there a way you can also add the cert? Okay, sorry, same comment. Right. So that's not very good. Let me do a bit of formatting while I'm here. So I'm going to just shrink this line down a bit. I think that's a bit better. Maybe something like that. Okay. Oh, this is annoying. Because the problem is when I click on it, it's highlighting that mark. Okay, so I think what I need to do is here. Let me get rid of highlight on that. Let me see if that does it. Nope. So it's going to do the same thing. Okay, so let me bring that highlight field back onto the view. And this time, so let's disable the I don't think that's going to do anything yet. So let's say, okay. So I'm going to now set up a, oh, how do we do this before? I think it's a worksheet action. This is probably going to break. So let's remove that one. We want to add I think it's a filter action. I don't think this is going to work. So let's, I'm going to call this one D-highlight. And I want it to only work on the repro 2 sheet. It's going to apply to itself on select, clearing selection, keep values. And then down here, I want to say the highlight is equal to, I don't know, the country. I think this is going to break. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't do that quite right. Let me just create another field. Let's call this other field for action. Action. Testing something here. What I'm trying to get it to do is to not stick the line in the front. Okay, let me get rid of that. So worksheet, actions. And here, I think I want to use other field. And let's try this and see what happens. Okay. Oh, how did I do this before? So that's going to highlight on hover, which we don't want. Deselect marks with a highlight. Okay, this is what I want. But I believe this one. So that leaves the mark highlighted. So that's not what we want, but this one. So that's kind of what we want. Okay, so let me see how I set this one up. Getting close though. guess the other option is to leave the country set on color here. On color. No, not country. Country set. Oops. Go back. I want country set on color. All right, I need to get rid of that filter action. So let's see, how does this one, oops. So sheet, dummy. But that's doing the same. Yeah, so this is different because it's doing an adjustment here. And then if I go here, dashboard, actions. Region set. But it keeps it highlighted, which isn't what I want. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I know I've done it before, but it's driving me nuts that I can't figure it out. Okay, so let me go back to my actions. And I'm going to remove that one and remove that one. Oh, I need to have the... Okay, how did I do it over here? Okay. So this is messed up because if I take that off, what did I do here? Repo. That's repro 2. Okay. Anyway, that's how I would do the dashed lines. I think I would probably not have the dots on them, though. I think it looks a bit nicer without the dots. Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, the like lack of highlighting here is really annoying. Okay. Anyway, so I probably wouldn't go with that one just because it's doesn't make for a great user experience. So let me duplicate this sheet. And what I'm going to do this time is just put dots on the ends of the lines. So what I want to do then is I want to values in set. Okay, let's create another calculated field. Let's call it line labels. And again, I want to say if country set, then I want to return the value in the set. Oh, I think I already have that, don't I? Yeah, I already have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that to the labels. And then I'm going to set this to be min-max of the year. And so then there we go. So now we get our values on the ends of the lines. I could format that to be 1 decimal place. Okay, maybe I can make the labels bigger. And maybe I'll have them match the mark color and bold, something like that. So now I click on another line. It's going to show the labels. Click off, and it stays there. So something like that. I think that's pretty good. And then what I might also do is maybe put the country label on there as well. So let's call this country label. So we're going to say if country set and it's the latest year. Then I want to return the country, and I've got an error here. Cannot logically and Boolean is okay. And year, oh shoot, equals latest year per country. So if I put that on the label as well, we should now get, okay, so it broke up the line. So I need to change this country label to be an attribute. And now I can see the country and the value. So if I go back over to the original, we can see we got the label on the end of the line. Now we have just the abbreviation of the country, but that's okay. So let's go to our labels and like that. Maybe the country will have in a bigger font. Yeah, so something like that. So Italy, I don't like the bigger font. At 7.7. Okay, so I click on this one. It should now say Russia. Very good. So this looks pretty good, I think. Okay, so if I'm going to finish this one, I'm going to clean up the tooltip. So my country label, I do not need in the tooltip. I don't need that in the tooltip. I don't need my, oh, those were already out of the, so I just have the country, the year, and the liters per capita. Okay, so I'm going to, that's the wrong thing. I want to do the tooltip. So country, like that, and the year, and then let's cross that out. Put that in there. Okay, so maybe we'll make this one a bit bigger. Oh, God. I just hit reset. Stupid. Okay, something like that. So let me make this a bigger number. See how that looks. Okay, so New Zealand, 1975. It's 11.5 liters per capita. Yeah, so this one looks good, I think. Now I'm going to edit my axis and get rid of my axis label, my axis title. I say it every week, but I'd really love to be able to right-click and just hide the title. Seems like it's something that'd be super easy to implement. Okay, so I probably should save at some point here. Let's go to makeup for Monday. Okay. Yeah, don't ever forget to save. Oh, I missed a space in there. That's okay. Right. So what else could we do then? We could look at, so we looked at the map already. I mean, another way we could look at the map, let me go back to our map here. Let's switch this back to circles. And we can put the latest value maybe on size. And then in our tooltip, we could insert the chart repro 2, I think that's the right one. Okay, and now we get just the value. Now we get a nice little chart in the tooltip. Let me go here. Repro 3. Which one did I just put in there? think I must have put the wrong sheet in there. Oh, meant to do repro 3. And I wanted to have a like a 2:3 ratio, so 2 wide by about 3 high. Sorry, 2 high, 3 wide. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so that looks better, something like that. So now we've got a bit more context in our tooltip as well. So what I could do then is maybe just get rid of the country, something like that. And I'd probably put the latest year per country onto the detail. So that way in my tooltip, I could, instead of this being the latest value, I could insert the year field, latest year per country. Okay. And then we can see it says 2019, whatever. Okay, so let me go there again. Yeah, so something like that. So it kind of shows you what the end of the line, the value is on the end of the line. Latest values. So let's format that in the pane. Oh, probably should go in the tooltip and say and back down the line. Oh, we probably should say liters per capita. There we go. Okay, excellent. So that seems to be working pretty well. So I'm going to again go ahead and save. So let's see what other kind of views we could create. Let me see. Let me go up to Data Viz chart choosers. Search by function. Data over time. So Heatmap wouldn't. Well, Heatmap might work. Let's see what a Heatmap looks like. So for Heatmap, I would put the year in the columns and maybe the country in the rows, and then the liters per capita onto color. And let's make it maybe fit entire view. And then maybe I'll put really light borders on. Yeah, so that doesn't really tell me anything. That's okay. It's worth trying. And heat map, line graph, we did that. I don't know how to create spiral plot. Steam graph, timeline, calendar, timetable. Okay, so that nothing really more there. Just going through some different options here. So what is this here? One data set. Okay, so function is trend over time. So line graph, bar chart, bubbles, heat map, Sparkline. Okay, so we could maybe look at Sparklines. So what I would do for a Sparkline, let's put country here, and let's put we'll put year continuous, and we'll put liters per capita. Now to do a Sparkline, you're going to shrink this up, and then shrink it up this way as well. And typically, what you would typically do is edit the axis and make the axes independent and uncheck include 0. And that makes each one of them fill up the space. And then you should hide the header, because now all this is doing is showing me the pattern for each country. So if I format this view now and get rid of my grid lines, that looks nice and clean. So what I could do then is I could put my latest value onto the row. Oops. Actually, I'll right click and drag it onto the rows, and I'm just going to make it discrete. Okay, so now, oh, that's not, yeah, that's because I have it set up as a 0. Okay. Latest. So edit Okay, so what's happening here is the int is returning either a 0 or the value. So when I put that into the view and I make it discrete, you'll see it splits up the view because every one of them I'm either returning the current value or the latest value or 0. So I need to duplicate this calculation and change it a bit. So latest value, I'll just call it 2, whatever. It's a terrible name. So I want to then take this number and I want to wrap it in an LOD and make the same max. So what's happening now? Okay, so this inside part of the calculation is going to just either return 0 or the value. So then if I take the maximum of those, that's going to give me, it's never going to return 0. And, oops, and then I want to fix this at the country level. Okay, so let's see if that works. And then I'm going to make that discrete. Okay, there we go. And then let's format in 1 decimal place. Okay, and then I'm going to just, let's just rename this as liters. I could also put the latest year per country on here as well. Okay. I probably don't even need those headers. So if I get rid of the headers, oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to hide the field labels. That's what I want to do. So now we see the country, the latest year, and the value. So let me now format this. Let's make it maybe a nice big number. Maybe not quite so big. And I will maybe center a line. Maybe make it black and bold. Something like that. So that gives us the latest. That then gives us the latest value. So I think that's pretty good. Is that DataViz catalog a free resource? It is a free resource. It's just datavizproject.com. I've actually, out of my Gumroad store, or you can find it on my website, I have all of these bookmarks and everything. I've curated all of them and put them up on Gumroad for sale. So if you want those, you can go out to my website. So let me show you where that is. And if you click Learn from Me, it's right here. So that'll take you out to where you can download all of the bookmarks I've ever created. Okay, so there's that. You also could, let's see, so this gives me the country. Okay, so I don't need that in the tooltip. I don't need that in the tooltip. Okay, so that's good. And then this one had which one had my nice little tooltip in it? This one. So copy and paste my tooltip here. Oh, okay, there we go. So that looks good. So these would be my Sparklines. Let's edit this axis, and we're just going to get rid of the title for now. Typically, what you would do from this time is you would hide that header, but let's leave it there for now. And then, yeah, okay. So maybe what we could do then is we could look at which countries. So Brazil went from 1.9 to 6.1. So maybe we want to put some kind of indicator on here that tells us which countries had an increase since their first period. So let's duplicate this latest year per country and call this one first year per country. And then we want to make this a min. And then what did I call this? Liters per capita. I'm going to call this the latest leaders per capita. And then let's duplicate that. And then I'll call this first leaders per capita. And again, I want to leave that as a max, but I want to change this to be first year. Okay, so now we have, so if I put this in the view as well, you'll see I got the first value and the last value. I'm just going to leave that there as a test now. So I'll call this better or worse. So I'm going to say if my latest liters per capita is greater than my first liters per capita, then I want to return like a bullet maybe. Otherwise, I want to return a blank or an empty string. Now, if I put that on here instead, we now get a dot here. So let's format this and make it center aligned. And we're going to make it red. We're going to make it really big. I'm sorry, let's make it maybe 28. Maybe not quite that big, maybe 16. And now we have a nice little indicator next to each country, which ones have increased or decreased since the beginning. Now we could also use that then on, where we go here, what I call better or worse. If I put that on color, now we can also see that here. So if we wanted to, we could color these red or blue or something like that, but I think I'll leave it, maybe color these, maybe some kind of black instead, maybe slightly thinner. Okay, there we go. So I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to call this one Spark Bars. I'm going to make this a bar chart instead. So, but for that, I'm going to switch my year to be discrete. And then I'm going to, so those are bars, which is good. And then let me scroll to the right and just drag this in. Come on. It's not letting me grab the edge. Ah, okay. Yeah, I need to leave it as continuous, but then change it to bars, and then just make them as thin as I can make them. Okay, so those are like Spark bars, which doesn't look particularly great, does it? So let me make that a bit wider. Okay, that's a bit better. Maybe in this case, I will show the header. And because it's a bar chart, I definitely want to include 0 because we're checking the height. And then if I make it the range automatic, okay, so that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to color code these bars, whether those were an increase or a decrease. So to do that, I'm going to drag my, let's see, I'll put my liters per capita onto color. And then I'm going to add a table calculation, which is my difference from going across the table. So that's good relative to previous. Okay, and that just gives me, good or bad. So I'm going to now change this to be 2 colors. So let's go with red and black. I'm going to pick a better color, red. So maybe that. And then the black's okay. Oh, and I want to make it just 2 colors. So then we see either an increase or a decrease. So that's not that easy to see. So I'm going to make this maybe a lighter gray. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. So that looks pretty good. And now we can hide these headers. Maybe shrink this up. No, you have to sort of play around with the size until you get it the way you'd like. And yeah, so what we could do then is we could sort the countries. So the good thing about the countries, the order they are now is they're alphabetical, so it's easier to look up a country. Is there any job opportunities in other countries? Are there any? I don't know what that has to do with this visualization. This has nothing to do with job opportunities. There's job opportunities in every single country. Just depends on what kind of job you want. The other option is to sort the countries by the field descending. I would probably do it by latest leaders per capita, something like that. So this tells you which country has the highest value. The problem here is, again, it's hard to know which country, like if I want to find the USA, I have to kind of scroll down the list until I find the USA, which is kind of a pain. So what I would probably do is just get rid of the sort, because now I know USA is probably down the bottom, right? Because it's alphabetical. Okay, so that's that. So those are Spark bars. Let me go back to this here. What else? Let's see, we did function, trend over time. Okay. Sparklines. We could do a slope graph. So that might be an option. So for a slope graph, what I would do is I'll probably look at the first year and the last year. So to do that, I want to say, let's see. I want to filter the data. So let's call this our slope graph filter. No, that's not right. So I want to do the first leaders per capita, and let's make that continuous. The latest leaders per capita, and make that continuous. Let's make them a combined axis. Latest leaders per capita. Come on. Okay, there we go. Oh, I need to swap these around, make this a line. And then I'm going to put the country onto detail. Let's maybe make this a bit wider. And then we could put the field we used to color, so better or worse, onto color. And let's maybe adjust our colors. We'll make this, let's go with that nice bright red we used before. And then this one we'll make a nice light gray. Come on. There we go. And then let's rearrange the red above the gray. And this tells us which countries increased and decreased. So that's the way you can do a slope graph. Okay, again, if you have any questions on YouTube, I can see your comments. If you are on LinkedIn, I cannot, unfortunately. So actually, maybe I can. Let me go to my profile on LinkedIn and see if I can get to the video running. Okay. Okay, yeah, I can see the comments now on LinkedIn as well. Let me bring this up. This one. Will this be up on YouTube as well? So Gersher, if you're watching, it's streaming to both YouTube and to LinkedIn. But if you wanted to watch it again on LinkedIn, you could as well. And Tom, it's helpful. Well, that's good to see. That's why I do these. So it's excellent to see that it's helpful. Okay. What else could we do then? Let me see what other options I have. Let's see. What's the other one? I like this one. This is one of my, has expired. Interesting. Okay. So that doesn't work anymore. So that domain has been taken down, I guess. Let's see what the Fleur-Ledges have here. Let's see. So this is just a bunch of, we could do we could maybe do a bump chart. So for that, we're going to do year and continuous. country onto detail, and then leaders per capita onto the rows. And then we want to now rank the leaders per capita. So let's make this a table calc rank. And we want to rank it by country. And then we need to edit the axis and reverse it. So that way we have one at the top, one at the bottom. And then maybe we'll put our country set on color. So let's edit the table calc. We need to include that in the ranking. Okay, so something like that. If I click on one, it doesn't do anything. So let me go back to the one that has my action worksheet actions. Where is it here? Update country set. Oh, I'll just do it again. I'll put this one my chart. Set, assign, and then keep the value. And then that's okay. So now when I click on something, okay, so that we want to do the highlighting thing again here. Okay, there we go. So this shows us the country. We could maybe put the, so what's going on here? Okay, so some of it looks like, so there aren't very many countries that have data for 2022. So that's why you got this kind of weird jump. So we could maybe put the latest leaders per capita on the label. That's not what I wanted to do. Where's my... That's not what I wanted to do. So what's on my country label? Values and set. Okay. Country label onto label. And then values and set on label. Okay, so then my label, I want to do my line end, min max, year. Okay, that didn't work. 4.1. So that's the, okay. This is confusing. I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm just going to label just the end of the line. Okay, so let's make the font bigger. Match the mark color bold. Okay, so at least tells us which country to put on here. Shows us what the country is. Okay, so that's how you would do a bump chart. And I've been going on for quite a while now. I didn't realize what time it was. These sessions are amazing for building portfolios, simply sparking. Yeah, thank you for that, Prashansa. Okay, hello from Iraq. Hello. Relationship between alcohol and cancer. Well, I don't have the cancer data, so I can't do that kind of relationship. So this is our bump chart. So this is my bump chart. Okay, so now I need to just decide which one I like the best. What I could do, so spark bars, Sparklines. I think probably one of these. So let me format this again. I'm going to make my dot a lot bigger. Oh, what the heck? Why did that happen? Why is it getting cut? Oh, I think it's because I need to make this a bit wider. There we go. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to format this a bit more. And I'm going to get rid of my row divider and my column divider. And then I'm going to add in shading. So I want to add in row banding. And I want to do it like that. Okay, so now let me format this one. Let's maybe make this 12. Maybe format this one and also make that 12. And then maybe this one, maybe we should make this one 12 as well. All right, so now I could probably shrink up these columns. Something like that. These don't need to be as wide. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Okay, let me format this. And let's make this a nice small font. And let's make it like a gray so it sort of fades into the background. And I'm actually going to turn on my column grid lines because then it makes it easier to see kind of which year you're at. So you see these start at 1960, 80. So I think I like that. We probably can, again, make this column a bit smaller. Okay, there we go. All right, something like that. Right. Okay, so maybe one thing I should add here then is maybe an option to move a country to the top. So yeah, let's do that. So let's create a parameter. I'm going to call it choose a country. And I'll just leave it as a list. Okay. And now if I show that parameter, it's over there on the side. I'm just going to pick something else, like Indonesia. And now I'm going to call this move to top. Move country to top. And I'm just going to say country equal to my choose a country. Add on to the rows. You'll see false is here. And if I go all the way to the bottom, you'll see my true. So let's sort this in descending order. And now I can hide that header. Okay, so now if I pick any other country, we've got that. But what I want to do now is I think on my header, I think I'm going to switch it back to that and include 0. Because now when I pick, for example, a different country, that one moves like that. So that all this is doing is moving that one to the top. Okay, so let me go to worksheet, format lines. I'm going to get rid of my 0 lines. Okay, something like that. So I think that's okay. Actually, what I could do here, so let me show the header again, and I want to format this, and I want to go to my dividers, and let's clear that. And then I want to header is none. No, don't want to do that. Okay, that's not what I want. There we go. So now I've got lines just separating that one at the top. So I think that looks pretty good. What if I make it a darker color? Yeah, so now that separates it nice and neat. Yeah, I think I like that. So now when we pick a different country, let's say maybe USA, it moves USA to the top. Okay. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Let me go back to so that. Let's now stick this into a dashboard. I'm going to make this actually really thin. So I want to make this, what's the, I think it's 375, oops, 375 wide. I think that's the width of a cell phone when you hold it vertical. And I'm going to drag in a vertical container. And let's make this 0, 0, and then 375 and 800. And then no border, inner padding, inner padding. Let's do maybe, let's just do 10. And I'm going to drag in my, where is it? Which one is it here? This one. And then, okay, I can make that entire view. That's fine. I want to hide my title and my, okay, so now we've got this thing here. So let's float that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for now. Get rid of this mess. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put a horizontal, let's see. I don't think I probably need to do that actually. So let me just hold my shift key down. We'll put that there. And then I'll put a text box above that with my title. So let's make this, let's just center the whole thing maybe. What's going on here? Why is this not? It sure as hell doesn't look like Tableau semi-bold. Oh, now it is. It's so stupid. Let's make this maybe 8 point, and let's make this one Tableau light. And make this maybe 12. Okay. And now what I can do, if I fix the height of that, let's see, alcohol consumption. Worldwide. Actually, my YouTube video had I had a good title for my YouTube video today. Sipping the stats. Worldwide. Okay, so let me undo the fix height. And on this one, I want to, let me set the outer padding to 0, and then my inner padding, what if I make it like 20? Okay, so I want this to be on 2 lines. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, maybe I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so let's trying to get it like in the middle of that box. All right. And then what I'm going to do now, so this one should be fixed size. That one's fixed size. So now as I adjust, and I need to add my caption. Oh, geez. Okay, so now if I just make this taller, it should start to spread them out until I get a view that I like. Okay, so now so everything else will be alphabetical except for the country I move to the top. Okay, so with a bubble map, okay, so let's see. Pietro, would a bubble map be too busy with so many countries? Well, I did a bubble map at the start. It just doesn't really add any value because you can't really compare the size of the bubbles. Okay. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Feel free to kind of reproduce some of these. I really like the bump chart, the slope graph. Yeah, I think this one looks good. Even reproducing the original and getting used to see how the actions work. I thought that was a good exercise. And then I think we had the heat map here somewhere. So let me rename that one. So let's drag this over. Call this 7. Tooltips look good. So now if I go to my phone view and I unlock it, let me see device preview. Get rid of that. And let's see, so this one's 2400, so I could just make the phone 2400 as well. There we go. And then I just need to, so that pin the size of that. Actually, I can make them exactly the same. So this one is, so 85 and 75. So let's go back here. Edit height, 85. Edit height, 75. And this one should have, it's really annoying that it doesn't like carry over the formatting and everything. And I just need to unpin that one. And now it should look exactly the same, whether somebody's on a phone or on the browser. Okay, so let me get rid of the device preview, save. And now when I go to, I need to go ahead and extract the data. Let's see. Okay, save. And then save the workbook. And then publish to Tableau Public. So now this is really annoying, is that you have this remember me option, but it never actually remembers you. Let me see, I need to just move this over here. Okay, and I'm just going to add my space in there. And let's call this like that. And then eventually it saves, hopefully. And Any last questions before we're about to hang up here in just a second? I need to go. I'm going to let this upload. But yeah, thank you very much for joining today. Hopefully you learned a lot. We covered quite a bit. I do like when you go into details. Thank you. That's good to know. Thank you. Hopefully you get a lot out of these sessions. That's obviously my intent. But I will see you next week. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter at andykriebel.com. I have a special tip coming out again this Friday, so exclusive to newsletter subscribers. Or early access to it for newsletter subscribers. So with that, I am going to sign off, and everybody have a wonderful week. Bye.